Welcome back to the KJ Methods YouTube channel, where we're dedicated to helping 1,000 agents get licensed before the end of 2025. Today, we are on agency test number 5. If you haven't been following along, we've also done 5 parts of contracts, and now we are on 5 parts of agency. I think that contracts and agency are the most important topics on any state exam because it is most highly tested, and it is also the topics that you will use as real estate agents. If you haven't been around, my name is Kalimah Jenkins. I am a real estate attorney as well as a pre-licensed instructor, and I also run a program called the KJ Method, which is a real estate exam prep program specifically designed to help students pass their real estate exam. So without further ado, let's get started. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. All right, here we go. Number 41. An agent is working with a buyer under a non-agency relationship, but provides detailed property advice, negotiates with the buyers on the buyer's behalf, and refers to the buyer as my client. What is the legal outcome if a dispute arises from this transaction? A, the buyer is not owed any fiduciary duties because the agency was not formalized in writing. B, the agent will not be liable because there was no written agreement. C, an implied agency could be established and the agent could be held to fiduciary duties. And D, the agent can only be held responsible if the principal gives written consent to representation. Guys, this question is making certain that you understand what you can do and what you can't do if you are in a non-agency with someone else. And so it says here non-agency. Some states call it non-agency, some call it third party, some call it customers. But in any regard, you are not in an agency relationship with this person. And so you know that what you're supposed to do with this person is only ministerial acts. So for you to call them my client, you can do certain things with them, but my client is giving them the belief that you are representing them. Does that make sense? And if you're giving them the belief that you're representing them, then what you are potentially creating is what we call C, an implied agency. An implied agency is where an agent leads a buyer to believe that they're representing them, but they are not. So there you have your vocabulary, but then we have just put it in a scenario so you can see how it might show up on your state exam. Number 42. A seller's agent receives confidential financial information from the seller about their minimal acceptable price. After the listing expires, that same agent begins representing a new buyer who is interested in the property, right? That same property where they were representing the seller. What must the agent do with the prior seller's confidential information? A, disclose it to the new buyer, since the previous agency is now over. B, use the information only if it benefits the new client, which would be the new buyer. C, keep the information confidential indefinitely. And D, use the information only if the former seller provides written consent. Now, this is a really good test question because many of you are going to struggle between C and D. But what I always tell my students is that if there is written consent, like an agreement, right, that trumps what we would normally say would be the rule. So here, the normal rule would be after you've represented someone, you are going to keep their information confidential. So it would be C. However, in this situation, D is going to be the answer, because you're going to use that information if that former seller gives you written consent to use it. Normally, the answer would be C, but that consent is going to trump the regular answer every time. 43. A seller's agent is holding a private showing for a prospective buyer. During the visit, The buyer casually mentions that they're desperate to find a home and they're willing to pay over asking if needed. After the showing, the agent considers sharing this information with the seller. Don't forget, they're representing the seller to strengthen their negotiating position. However, the buyer was never formally represented. What should the agent do under the principles of agency? A. Disclose the buyer's statement to the seller, since the agent owes loyalty to the seller and the buyer is unrepresented. B. Keep the information confidential, as it was shared in a private setting and could be considered confidential by custom. C. Ask the buyer to confirm the statement in writing before disclosing it to the seller. Or D. Avoid disclosing the information unless the buyer is represented and gives their consent. Now, what do you think here? What is happening is that the seller's agent talked to a buyer, prospective buyer, that they're not representing. They come in and they go, oh, I'll pay anything for this house. What do? Well, you may be surprised, but think about it. Who is your loyalty to? Who is your allegiance to? Your allegiance is to your seller. So you are going to disclose that information to the seller and hope that it helps you with negotiating even a higher price on the property, as you owe no duty to the buyer at all. Don't forget, when we are not representing someone, we only do the minimum and we only owe them the minimum. But loyalty and confidentiality are not things that we owe them. 44. Which listing agreement provides the least protection for the listing broker? A. Is it an open listing? B. Is it an exclusive agency listing? C. Is it an exclusive right to sell listing? Or D. Is it a net listing? Well, hopefully you know the answer to this would be an open listing. Okay, now why is it that that provides even less protection than an exclusive agency? Because open listings are non-exclusive. So you may not get a commission, and you also are not the only one trying to sell that property. At least with an exclusive agency, the agency agreement, the listing agreement, is exclusive to you. You're the only one that's trying to sell it, and the seller may be trying to sell it too, but you're the only one because you're exclusive. Open listings, sometimes we refer to them as non-exclusive listings. That means that anybody can sell this listing. So you are 100% not protected at all in an open listing. 45. A seller has listed their house with you for $350,000, which is $30,000 more than your CMA indicated the house is worth. CMA, comparative market analysis. It's more than what you're saying it's worth. After several weeks, this house still hasn't sold, as expected, right? And you lower the list price to $330,000, and you immediately receive offers on the house. But what were your actions? Your actions were, A, permitted because of your duties in the listing contract to find a ready, willing, and able buyer, right? That's your job, and that's what you did. B, it permitted because of your duties of performance. C, prohibited because of the principle of substitution. That doesn't make much sense, right? That is a valuation topic. This is really under agency. And prohibited because of your duties of obedience. Yes, you are supposed to be obedient to your principal. So the answer is D. There is nothing in this question that says that you ask your principal, you discussed it with your principal approved this change. You just went and changed it. And so you are going to be, your actions are going to be prohibited. 46. You have an exclusive listing agreement with a seller. You bring the seller several offers, and the seller asks you the race and color of the buyer for each of the offers you unilaterally have in hand. You respectfully decline to answer that question. Have you violated your duties to your client? Don't forget, we have a duty of obedience. A, yes, you owe complete loyalty and notice to your client. B, yes, race and color are protected classes, and the seller is making sure not to violate these. C, no, the non-disclosure of race and color are not violations of your duties to your client. And D, no, as these are material facts which do not need to be disclosed. Well, this is just making certain that you understand that, of course, you have many obligations to your principal, to your seller, right? Some states call it principal, some states call it client. But you have many obligations to them. However, in all your obligations, you are not allowed to let them put you in a position of doing something illegal. And so here, the answer is going to be C, no. If you don't disclose race and color, you are not in violation of those duties, because if you do disclose it, you're in violation of fair housing, which you do not want to do. 47, you plan on advertising your client's local property in a national publication. Your client asks you not to advertise in that publication. The broker does as the client is instructed. Has this broker acted wisely? Has this broker acted wisely? A, no, advertising the property nationally would have brought a much higher price for your client, which would have satisfied the economic principle of highest and best use. No, the advertising was being paid for by the broker, and therefore the client is not burdened by the expense, so they would have benefited with the higher exposure. Yes, as the client knows the national publication would not have been seen by local buyers and therefore would have been a waste of money. Yes, because the broker owes loyalty and obedience to the client. Well, this is kind of different from the question that we just had, right? We said we're starting out with saying you are always going to be loyal and obedient to your client unless they're asking you to do something that is illegal. We just said that. Is not advertising in a national publication illegal? No, it is not. And so, yes, the broker has acted wisely because you are not asking them to do or not do anything illegal. So there's no problem with that the broker has done as they were instructed by the principal. 48. A piece of residential property is listed by you with an exclusive right to sell, which terminates in 6 months. During the listing period, which of the following facts would you not have to disclose to potential buyers? Not have to disclose. A, a new school is going to be built in 7 months across the street. B, the seller is moving to another state in 30 days. C, a solid waste site which was closed and capped 5 years ago is a half a mile away. D, a proposed highway that would have had a nearby exit to the property has been canceled. Which one would you not have to disclose? Which one would you not have to disclose? Well, of course, that the seller is moving to another state within 30 days. This one just gets to, do you understand that material items, what is material? Material are those things that are important. Now, we're on the national exam here, and in most instances on this national exam, if you get a disclosure question, look for the things that the person would want to know in order to say if you have to disclose it. And it's going to be things relating to the house, things relating to the neighborhood. The seller moving to another state, you don't have to disclose that. Nobody cares about that. If the seller stays in this state, moves to another state, it doesn't affect the house. It doesn't affect the property values or anything of that nature. Now, when you get to your state-specific law, the answer here may be different. But if you do get a question on the national portion of the state exam, where we're talking about what kind of things would you have to disclose, look at the things relating to the house, relating to the neighborhood that would be important in terms of what you would disclose. This says not disclose, so we don't have to disclose anything about the seller moving to another state. 49. A real estate agent is representing a seller under an exclusive agency agreement. A potential buyer contacts the agent directly and expresses interest in making an offer. Without informing the seller, the agent drafts and signs a buyer representation agreement with the buyer, intending to collect commission from both parties. What duty has the agent most clearly violated? A, the duty of disclosure by failing to notify the seller of the buyer's interests. B, the duty of care by not preparing the contract properly. C, the duty of accounting by trying to collect two commissions. D, the duty of loyalty by creating a dual agency without consent. Well, guys, here, this real estate agent was already representing the seller. The buyer comes along and wants to make an offer on this property. So this agent goes, drafts, and does a buyer representation agreement. So now they're going to be representing both the seller and representing the buyer. What is that? That is dual agency. However, undisclosed dual agency is illegal. Both parties must know and be informed of and consent that they agree to dual agency. So your answer here is D. They violated the duty of loyalty by creating a dual agency without consent. Number 50. Which of the following best defines the law of agency? A, the rules and regulations that apply in all real estate transactions. B, the principles that govern your conduct in business. C, the rules of law that applies when a person acts on behalf of another. And D, the business of real estate brokerage. Well, I hope you know by now that what we are most concerned with when we talk about agency are the rules of law that apply when one person acts on behalf of another person. Okay, guys, well, that is it. Agency test review part 5. How did you do on that one? As you know, I've been sitting outside. It's beautiful during this summer. The birds, though, seem to sing every time I come outside. So hopefully that is not too troublesome. If it is, please post that in the comments too, and I will make certain to do an inside location. But, I think they sound kind of nice. I'm KJ from the KJ Method. Don't forget to like, share this video for everyone who is trying to pass their real estate exam. It doesn't matter which state they are in. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you can get notifications as to when we upload another video. We are actually going to begin moving to another topic. Our next topic will be real estate practice.